What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Accounting Flow podcast brought to you by Financial Sense. This podcast is dedicated to taking a deep dive into accounting firm workflow and processes. Each episode, we will spend 20 minutes interviewing actual accounting firm owners just like you, uncovering specific processes that firm owners and operators encounter on a daily basis and discuss ways to improve them. Let's go. All right, welcome to another episode of Accounting Flow. Today we get to talk about all things go-to-market strategy, and we have the prolific Michael Haynes with us, who is an SME business growth specialist with Listen, Innovate, and Grow. Welcome. Michael, thanks for joining.
Thanks, Roman. Great to be here. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, go-to-market strategy is one of my favorite topics, and in the realm of accounting, it is not very well explored because we focus on accounting. Can you give us a brief overview of how you work with clients, what type of clients you work with, what type of activity you see in firms?
Sure, sounds good. So again, I'm Michael Haynes, so business growth specialist. So Roman, my focus is working with small and medium B2B accounting, technology, and law firms. And I work with these firms by helping them to implement a go-to-market strategy, for which I have a buyer driven go-to-market strategy, which I will explain shortly, to enable them to acquire, retain, and grow those clients and ultimately their firms. Roman, it's very important that firms have a go-to-market strategy, not a marketing plan. Marketing and sales are an important component of building and growing your firm, but it is not enough. Your go-to-market strategy is fundamentally your entire roadmap end to end. It's what's going to help you identify what are the right market opportunities. So which industry sectors and geographic markets to be focusing on? What are the certain kinds of clients we should be going for? What are the solutions, the offerings we need to be providing in terms of, those accounting services, and now there's a need for advisory, strategic services, and even opportunities for some of your business clients to be able to engage with others. So how do you build those engagement opportunities for them to learn as well? And then there are the aspects of around client acquisition to attract and acquire those clients, but also to retain and grow them as well. Your go-to-market is your roadmap for all of those components, because ultimately, Roman, is going to involve all parts of the firm: marketing, sales, client delivery, those involved in learning and development, those involved in helping to put together your solutions, your offerings together. So it's your complete end-to-end roadmap for everything from market identification right through to a client acquisition, retention, and growth.
Oh man, Michael, it sounds like we could do an entire series on that.
Yes.
And 25 minutes, 30 minutes is not enough to dig into every single topic. So, why don't we dive into the realm of an example of maybe a five-person firm, a
Yeah,
10-person firm who really
yeah,
wants to grow and scale, who comes from an accounting background, maybe not as proficient on the sales and marketing side.
sure.
Where do you start? Where does a firm owner start to think about a true go-to-market movement within the context of what we're talking about here?
So in terms of how to get started, it all starts ultimately, which is about listening. So it's about listening, gaining that in-depth understanding. So the first place we're going to be starting is with your current client base. Now, the key to remember for those, for B2B accounting firms, so those firms that are providing their services to other businesses, it is not enough to be, customer client centric to understand the organization of the company. So, for example, one of my clients I'm working with right now is a 12-person accounting firm here in Sydney. They do a lot of work selling into fintech
Mm,
companies. It's not enough to understand about the fintech, the company itself. We need to be buyer driven. We need to understand who are the decision makers within the firm. So the first thing you need to get an understanding is that understanding on a buyer level. Who makes the decisions? What are their priorities? And how do they buy? How do they
mm.
go about making decisions around getting accounting and advisory services? Understanding those three fundamental questions will set the foundation and the roadmap of everything that you need to do. So that's number one, is getting an understanding of your buyers. And you can do that in a variety of ways. Really, the first fundamental way, Roman, is really through by talking to your clients. So having structured discussions with your clients, with the decision makers and those influencing the decision within those organizations as to what are their priorities, what are their
Mm,
key challenges, where are they looking, what are their objectives. Understanding where and with whom they go for what I call AIR, advice, insights, and recommendations.
mm,
Very important we understand who are they talking to, what are they listening to, where are they reading, where are they going. Very important we gain an understanding of those things, Roman, as
yeah,
it's by understanding not only just what their problems and objectives are, but where and particularly with whom they're going to for advice, insights, and recommendations will help us determine what we need to offer in terms of advice, insights, and recommendations, and where we need to have that information. So
yeah.
listening is really that core component. Gaining that in-depth understanding at the client level is a great first place to start. Talking with current clients, as well as potentially talking to some of your prospects, those clients, prospects you'd love to have but don't, and as well as clients that may have left you as well, because you can gain some good learning, understanding, well, why is it that firm, our firm didn't quite meet your requirements.
Yeah. And so does that typically demonstrate itself internally if I'm going through this exercise to really understand who my customer base is? Am I developing like a customer archetype and a profile of the type of individual, the type of company that I'm looking to work with that then weaves its way into a true go-to-market motion?
Yes, absolutely. So ultimately, by doing these discussions with your clients, with your clients and prospects, we do want to gain a profile of the types of organizations that you're going to be dealing with, understanding who the decision makers are,
Yeah.
getting an understanding of their key objectives, key challenges, having an understanding of where they go for that air advice, insights, and recommendations. Who are they talking to? What are they listening to? What are they reading? What events are they going to? And building a profile, yes, of our ideal
Mhm.
client profile. But Roman, again, notice it's at the buyer level. We need to make sure
Yeah.
we're talking to those, within our target companies, of those who make the decision, those influencing the decision. What are their priorities? What are their challenges? And
Yeah.
how do they go for that air? I'm building that profile. Yes, that's exactly right, because that will
Yeah.
set the stage, the roadmap for what we need to do next.
Mm. There's a book from, I believe, the 1980s called Selling Strategies. It's a very great book title, but it walks through the different buyers in any buying process. And in your acronym of AIR, the influence, who is influencing the buying decision? And more often than not, there's one decision maker that's signing the contract, and then there's multiple players. Maybe it's key stakeholders, board members, investors, bank, others that have really keen insights on what they want to see out of a new relationship with a potential vendor or in this case an accounting firm. How do you discover through that process what those core motivators are on the other individuals that are playing an influence on the buying decisions?
Well, what I have typically have my clients do, we will typically try to, set up these, interview discussions, try to
Hmm.
bring in and ideally identifying the decision makers and asking them to possibly bring in one other person who's also involved in the decision making. And but then again, who in the discussion that we're having in terms of where they go for advice, insights, and recommendations, one of the things you want to ask, and who else, do you go to for advice, insights? And so that's one of the things that you would be asking in those discovery sessions to understand who else is involved and who else do you go to for that air advice, insights, and recommendations. The reason why I really hone into that, and that's part of this buyer air driven go to market framework, is because Roman, lots of studies have shown now people aren't looking necessarily on how to solve something, it's where and who can help me solve that problem,
Hmm.
who can help me achieve those objectives. And
Yeah.
so the part of the buying decision process now is very much going through that self education and research and going to those trusted sources of advice, insights, which might be, influence industry experts. It could
Yeah.
be fellow colleagues, members of your peer mastermind groups. It could be going to certain events. So it's understanding who are those trusted sources and where they are. That is really the key because that's a crux now of how buyers buy. It's no longer about selling the pitch to them. We need to understand where and with whom they're going to for
Yeah.
trusted advice, insights, and recommendations for that air, and then building our go to market around that.
Advice, insights, and recommendation. Insights is the I, not influence. It's
Yeah,
insights.
yeah,
That's
advice,
fascinating.
insights, and recommendation. And the
Yeah,
reason I've come up with that framework, Roman, is because studies have been done by Forrester, Gartner, the Hinge Research Institute, and in our world of professional services, the
yeah,
number one thing that our clients, our buyers are looking for is expertise, and they want depth of expertise because they
yeah,
want that clarity and confidence, which they get through air, advice, insights, and recommendations. So
yeah.
hence, being buyer driven, really understanding who makes the decision, who influences the decision, and where they are going for advice, insights, and recommendations, and what those are. That is the foundation of how we do our go to market. It's around really surrounding the buyer where they are, with whom they trust, and providing them with those advice, insights, and recommendations, giving them the air that they need.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So after we have established a buyer profile, we've
Yeah.
gathered a lot of this information. Are we really starting to map out like a buyer journey or client journey, and then weaving that profile into that journey, or how would a firm owner take this one step further?
Okay, so you've done your listening, which will give you your that kind of core foundation of your understanding of who's going to be your target market, your target buyers. Then it's about building out what are the three core pillars of your go-to-market strategy and your three core pillars, which are aligned to how buyers buy, because buyers are seeking, decision makers are seeking that advice, insights, and recommendations. So your three core pillars that you want to be thinking out and building out are content, events, particularly micro events, and
Mm,
opportunities for collaborations and partnerships. Those are the three foundations of your go to market strategy because your buyers are seeking content. So, what is the right kinds of advice, insights, and recommendations we should be giving? And in what format? So, is it
mm,
articles? Is it blogs? Is it white papers? So, we want to build up that content strategy. That's step one. And really quickly, Roman, your content strategy is about content creation. So, what are you creating? Articles, blogs, white papers, live stream interviews, and it's content distribution. Where do
mm,
we need to be distributing that? And that's by knowing where our buyers are going for information. So, and they're going for third-party places. So we need to be thinking about, are there certain industry publications, industry associations, which is often a good place to try to get your content visible. Are there certain events? It might be on certain podcasts. Obviously, online is a component. So SEO, making sure your SEO optimized. Some of your strategic partners, suppliers could be a source as well. So content is number one. So we'll start building up what's a content strategy in terms of what kind of content and where it needs to be visible. That's number one. Second thing will be event, micro events. Decision makers are looking for that clarity. They're looking for that confidence. So, but they're getting bombarded with lots of information from all the experts. Where do I go? What do I do? They want opportunities to ask questions, engage with experts, engage with their
mm,
peers. So you want to provide opportunities for them to ask those questions, gain those different perspectives. So having events and having what I call micro events. Micro events, Roman, are events between 30 to 90 minutes where busy decision makers, busy execs can come to learn, to ask questions, to interact. So these could be things like, it could be like hosting a Q&A session online.
mm,
It could be doing a master class, hosting roundtables, hosting an executive briefing. And while you can do these in person, doing these online, I found for both my own business and my clients to be very effective because decision makers, execs, are very busy, but they will find time for a 60-minute master class or a
yeah.
90-minute executive roundtable or briefing if it is value add and they have the opportunity to gain some air, advice, insights, and recommendations and interact with folks. So you want to be having those events, micro events. What can you be offering? And as part of your go to market, because it also gives you the opportunity to unlock the conversation as well. So, content, micro events, and then the third component is strategic collaborations, partnerships.
Mm,
With whom can you be collaborating to conduct some of these events, to put up this content, distribute this content? Because again, our buyers, our decision makers are going to those trusted sources. So by knowing who those trusted sources are, we might collaborate with someone to put together a newsletter or an article for a newsletter. We might
mm,
join forces. For example, I myself, working with an IT firm, and we're doing a joint masterclass to be targeting Canadian IT and accounting leaders. So you can join forces where you're bringing content together, bringing your audiences together. So your go-to-market, once you know who you're going after, is about building out those three pillars of content, micro events, and collaborations. To attract and attain the clients that you seek. So those three are the three core elements that we really want to have in our go-to-market strategy.
Okay, I love that. And so if I'm sitting in the seat of a firm owner listening to this, I might be saying, I don't have a problem with client acquisition because there's so much opportunity out there. And we're, like we can't service the demand because we don't have enough people to be able to keep up with it. Now, in that situation, I think there's likely the problem of not having clearly identified the buyer in order to know exactly who you should be targeting, the types of companies you should be working with. So for the firm owner that says, hey, I've got enough business coming in the door, how do I refine that and really discover how to get them into the right rhythms that we want them to get them into, the right types of companies that we want to work for, versus just taking anything that comes in? Like, how do you advise a company that has that problem? It's maybe not a top of the funnel problem, it's a specificity in who you're serving type problem.
Sure. Great question to ask, Roman. And in fact, that's something I encountered with this accounting firm that I'm working with in Western Sydney right now. So one of the things that we do as part of that listening, getting that depth of understanding, it's also about getting depth of understanding in terms of the client's business. So going through and doing a bit of a win-loss analysis, an analysis of their current client portfolio. To understand, okay, so who are your, what kinds of clients are your top revenue and profitability generators? Where are the ones that you're having success in terms of profitability? You're getting client references, you're getting referrals. What are the kinds of clients that seem to align with where your firm is looking to go as well, who you and your team are working with? So that's a combination, Roman, of doing some analysis, so getting extraction of that client data within the team, and workshopping. So we did a half-day workshop where we had the two firm MD and the co-founder. We brought in the team and we workshopped and we went through, okay, this is the list of current clients. Who are the ones that were most profitable? Who are the ones generating the references and testimonials? Getting a sense of the MD and the co-founder to articulate where they want to grow the firm, which clients seem to be aligning with that. So that really helps give you a sense, helps you to really zero in on, okay, what are the industry sectors? What are the markets? What are the kinds of clients we want to be going after? So to doing that kind of exercise, which is often done in a bit of a workshopping environment based on data and also strategic intent, really helps get the clarity and focus.
Well, I like that a lot. When you talk about internal firm data, I think about like a client heat map. What are the clients that are your biggest advocates? They maybe generate more profitability than others versus the ones that are really disengaged, that you don't connect with, that maybe put more of a drag on the team.
Yeah.
And I think that if you do an analysis, most firms, their best clients have come from their best client referrals. And so
Yes.
I think the nature of this industry is such that we tend to feed off of this referral based industry, and that's where growth comes from. And what you're talking about strategy wise with content, with events, with partnerships, you can be speaking that same language to your clients, to your partners, that helps that referral wheel continue to move. So do you see a lot of what you're talking about here as an outbound market focused strategy, or is it really a combination of outbound new relationships as well as activating the existing client referral base that you have?
It's actually both, and I always tell with my work with my clients is that you really want to start working with your internal, your current client base, because your
Mm,
current client base is the goal. It's a goal for the insights. Because once you have an understanding of who they are, where they at, what are their priorities, then you can and should be building out some strategic account plans on how you're going to nurture, maintain, and grow those clients. And so, what
mhm.
are the systems you're going to be putting in place, like having regular client strategic client workshops? What do you need to be providing to your internal core key clients in terms of content, micro events, and collaborations, so that as your clients are building and growing, you are providing air, advice, insights, recommendations to help them build and grow. So you are maintaining that relevancy and being providing the services that they need. Because if you
Mm,
don't, then you can end up not becoming relevant, which one
yeah.
of my IT clients in Ohio is having an issue with because his clients are growing. And now I'm doing client interviews with some of his
Mm,
clients, and some of them are like, the firm is no longer quite relevant because we are on phases 2 and 3 of our growth, not quite as relevant. So I'm working with that firm on how they have to modify their offerings, their actual service offerings,
ah,
as well as content and events so that they are being relevant and being able to continue to add value and being able to retain the clients that they have. So it's very important that we work from a current client base as well as looking after, as well trying to acquire new clients as well.
yeah. Okay. All right. One of the hot topics in the accounting firm running space today is the concept of niching,
Yeah.
and not just niching from the sense of hey we serve technology companies, but it's hey we serve B2B subscription based technology companies. Getting more narrow on that niche. What's your perspective on niching? How deep do you go, and do you recommend most firms to go that direction?
Great question, Roman. Yes, I absolutely recommend that firms, professional service firms, for which accounting is one, that we do go niching. Niching does work. It helps. I've done it with my own business as a consulting firm because when you niche down, it allows you to get very specific and know very clearly, who your decision makers are, how to find them. So, where are they? Who do they deem as their trusted sources? For advice, insights. Where
Mhm.
do you need to be? What kind of content? Where you need to create it. It allows you to be very specific in terms of the kinds of events, with whom to partner. So niching down allows you to get very specific, very targeted. Which podcast are you going after? And I'll use myself as an example. Before B2B, I was kind of going broad all over. Now I have narrowed down specifically to those specific podcasts that have a strong listening base, which are deemed as a trusted source of advice for my
Mm,
client base. So that allows you to get very specific as to what industry associations, what
yeah.
podcasts, what events you need to be at, what kind of content, what are the right channels, who specifically are potential partners that you want to collaborate for content, events, new offerings. So it really allows you to get very specific, which means your marketing and sales tactics, your whole go to market is going to be much more effective. It's going to
Yeah.
be faster. And you also quickly start to know, people know who you stand, what you stand for, what
Mhm.
your firm is all about. Now, again, I'm going to use myself as an example. Now people are very clear. Oh, he's that accounting tech law guy, because that's my world that I deal with. They know what you stand for. So in terms of your firm getting opportunities in terms of clients, opportunities to speak at keynotes, opportunities for podcasts, you will quickly become the go-to. Oh, we need to refer Roman. Oh, conference is coming up. Roman, because he deals with that specific industry,
Yeah.
that's the person that we contact. So it makes it your events, it makes all of your activities very targeted, very focused,
Mm,
better return, it's faster. You become known as the expert, which means you become the go-to, you become that trusted person, and it will just lead to opening up the right kinds of opportunities because it'll become very clear to clients and other members of the ecosystem in terms of who's doing events, putting out content, influence with experts, who you stand for and whom you serve. So it's a win-win
yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah, and I love the concept of niching. I think it's very rich. It's vast. The riches are in the niches, people say. I want to throw the inverse situation out because I've seen this play out a number of times. Where let's say a firm owner has seen some good amount of growth, and over the first 3 to 5 years of their firm, they've taken on a wide variety of clients. They've got a no discernible niche. They've taken on opportunities with clients that they connect with, that they feel like they can serve well, but there's no discernible focus from a niche standpoint. What are the risks of continuing to do that? If you weren't to niche and if you were to say, hey, things are going well, we're serving a variety of clients that we're happy with, we're having fun with.
Mm.
What are the risks if they didn't niche? And is there a path to go more broad?
Okay, well, in terms of what is the risk, client that I'm dealing with across in your neck of the woods in northeastern United States has run into that problem because they
Mm,
started out very broad, bringing in lots of clients initially, but again, as your firms now, are looking to build and grow, their needs and priorities are changing. And when you are all over the place, you are not going to have that specificity, that depth of expertise our clients are
Mm,
looking for. As your clients start to grow, they're going to need expertise in certain areas. It could be around technology, it could be around operating systems, operating models, or certain industry specific knowledge. If you are all over the place and you are not niche down and you're not becoming an expert, you will start to become irrelevant and unable to serve your clients as they are moving in their growth trajectory. And
mm.
so you can run into the problem that one of my clients has now of, okay, we're no longer relevant because we're kind of all over the shop and our clients are they're niching down, they're growing, they're becoming very targeted, and they require that depth of expertise in certain kinds of methodologies, industry technologies, etc., that you're not able to. So it will come back to bite you eventually.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's an inhibitor to scalability. And
Yeah,
you can run a profitable, a healthy business with a broad strategy, but you'll reach a certain point where you start tapping up against that ceiling of expertise that you just don't have domain knowledge in. And it sounds like that's the point where it really makes sense to go deep in a specific vertical or niche that makes sense for you and your firm.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Michael. A couple minutes left here. I'm going to hit you with some quick hit questions as
Okay.
we wrap. So, for a firm owner that has just started their business, where do they start if they don't have an existing customers? What's the first place for them to look at?
I would say first place to look at is the relevant industry and professional associations for their target industries. Go onto those websites. There are a repository on those websites where you'll have industry reports, newsletters, webinars. There might even be some events where you can start listening at that industry market level, and you'll gain some really good insights around the industries, the markets, the clients, and even the buyers. So industry and professional association websites, first protocol.
Okay, perfect. Second question. What's the best content medium? You talked about different mediums of content distribution. What have you found to be the best content medium to distribute content for the average small accounting firm?
I would say, well, definitely, I would say email, social media, leveraging relevant partners. So people in your network who you can get them to share that content on their email and social media. Start from there.
Okay. Any particular social media platform you see more successful than
LinkedIn for
another?
B2B, LinkedIn. But do not rely on LinkedIn, but it's definitely
Mm,
that is the place that we definitely need to be first protocol. Short on time, short on resources, get the content posted on LinkedIn.
okay. I like that. Been a fantastic tool for me and for a lot of other firmers I know.
Why my
Um,
business has gotten through the pandemic and has actually grown and is actually doing much better. It's because of LinkedIn, how I built relationships. It's
yeah.
how I ultimately got on this podcast. It's all through, yeah, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is definitely the channel to leverage.
Fantastic. Okay, last question. So, as we've exited the pandemic, the world is virtual. Everybody's operating largely remotely, can service clients anywhere. How important is geographical focus in your mind as it relates to firm growth?
Geographical focus, so long as you understand the dynamics of the industries and markets that you serve, you can work globally. I'm based here in Sydney, Australia. My core markets are Australia, Canada, and the US, but I also have clients in Singapore and Dubai as well. And that's virtue of my depth of expertise in the area of small and medium accounting, tech, and law firms. So long as you understand depth of expertise in your industry and you understand the dynamics of the geographic markets that you serve, in our business, we can work anywhere.
Awesome. That's great. So, Michael, this has been quite stimulating. Go to market strategy is so fascinating, so rich, so deep. And I know you have a wealth of information that we weren't able to get to today. But in the event people want to reach out to you, what are the best means to reach you, find you, contact information, things like that?
Sure. So connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always excited to meet relevant people to connect and engage with. So connect with me on LinkedIn, and I post content there regularly, as well as you can go to my website, listeninnovategrow.com. So that's listeninnovategrow, all one word.com. That's the repository for all of my insights content around what we need to do as small and medium B2B professional service, accounting, tech, law firm, what we need to do to build and grow.
Let's go. That's awesome. Well, Michael, we appreciate your insights today. And I'd recommend people to reach out to Michael for any go to market strategy initiatives. And thank you so much for coming on today. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Roman. It's great to be here and really enjoyed our conversation.
For listening in today. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to share and write a review. This is going to help other firm owners just like you find our podcast and get insights into how to grow their firm. Stay tuned.